After the Islamic Revolution, my father couldn't go back to Iran. He had been under the Shah's support for his PhD studies at Purdue University.
No, nothing to do with the Shah. This is part of the Ministry of Higher Education to give a scholarship to best students to come to get the doctorate and come back to the country.
But when the regime changed, so did his support and ability to travel back. Since he wasn't Muslim and he was a scientist, there was the fear he'd be jailed if he returned. He was also of the Baha'i faith, so that made it even harder, since Baha'is had a history of being persecuted in Iran, and it got even worse after the revolution. My mother was Muslim though, and she could travel back and forth freely. She was also deeply homesick and missing her family, so she traveled back for a visit with me when I was 4 years old. As soon as I arrived, my uncle Mortaza asked me what I wanted to do. Chi mikhai, Pirooz Jun? He asked me in Farsi. Kentucky Fried Chicken, I said. Chash, my uncle said. Berim. So right from the airport, my first trip back to Iran, we drove to KFC and my uncle bought me a bucket and I started eating a chicken leg right in the car. Khosh mazast, he asked me in Farsi. I nodded my head and gave him a thumbs up and everyone laughed. I loved KFC. I loved it more than Gourmet Sabzi or Tatik Sib Zamani. I even asked my mom to make it at home just like they did, but it didn't taste the same. Pirooz loves his fried chicken, my mother told everyone in the car.
Pirooz Kentucky Fried Chicken خیلی دوست داره.
I do, I said, and started dancing and humming as I ate my chicken leg. Then, my Uncle Moti took us shopping in the Grand Bazaar. He said he wanted to buy me a gift. Pick whatever you want, he told me. I got excited. I looked around the bazaar. There were stalls everywhere, and the vendors were calling out to the people walking on the street between them. Do you see anything you like? Moti asked me. I noticed a bunch of golden cages by the side of the road. I figured it might be puppies and I ran over. Oh, Mama, I said, chicks! The cages were filled with dozens of baby chicks. They were chirping and running back and forth over the newspaper print beneath them. Is this what you want, Pirooz Jun? Moti asked. I nodded my head and pointed at a chick close to my hand. She was so beautiful. Pirooz, we're not staying here. My mother explained. We can't get this cheek. I was confused. Why wouldn't we stay? من خیلی دوست دارم این جوجو کوچولو رو, I said in Farsi. برم بخر این جوجو کوچولو رو. من اینو میخوام. من دوستش دارم. I had the chick now in my hands, holding it up to them. Then what Prince Pirooz wants, he gets, my Uncle Moti said with a laugh. Mortazar! My mother shouted. In kheli kasife, my grandmother said and shook her head. Moti already had a small golden cage in his hands. He walked it over to me and I gently opened the tiny door in the front and let my beloved into the cage. Man kheli dost daram, I told the chick. Kheli. Khub, my uncle said. We got back to the apartment and I put the cage on the floor right next to me. I was sitting there with my great-grandmother Khanjun, waiting for dinner to be served. There was already some sabzi and radishes on the table. Khanjun had her tea in front of her, and my mother had given me a small helping of plain yogurt in a bowl. I was eating my most, yogurt, with a spoon and humming and dancing again, looking at my beloved chick, when I started thinking about how hot it was that day. Maman! I yelled to my mom in the kitchen in Farsi. Juje man teshna shod. He's thirsty, my mom said, peeking from the hallway. Come and get water. I ran and got a tiny glass for my mother and placed it in the cage and waited. Then my beloved came over and pecked at the glass and drank. See, I said to my great-grandmother Khanjun next to me. Barakallah, Khanjun smiled. Good job. I nodded and agreed with her. Then I remembered all the chicks eating birdseed in the cages. But my Uncle Moti didn't buy any. My chick might die. I had to help her. She was mine and I had to take care of her now. That's when it hit me. I took the spoon, still in my mouth, scooped a tiny bit of moss on the end of it, and slowly stuck it through the front door of the cage and put it right up to the chick's mouth. She started eating right away and I laughed out loud and looked over at my great-grandmother. She smiled and nodded her head. Barakallah, Pirooz Jun, she said. Barakallah. I was still feeding the chick when my grandmother saw what I was doing from the kitchen. She screamed right away. This is dirty! این خیلی کثیفه, she told me in Farsi. Don't feed it yogurt. بهش ماست نده. It's hungry, I said. Your spoon is not for cheeks, she said. Your grandmother is right, my mother agreed.
مادر بزرگ راست میگه.
They were being so mean. They didn't understand. My chick was my life. I had to take care of her now. She liked yogurt. If I didn't feed her, she'd die. She needs to eat, I said. We need to take back this chick, my grandmother said in a half whisper to my mom and uncle. That's it! My great-grandmother shouted very loudly, and everyone got quiet. I was even a little scared. Let him do what he wants, she said and smiled down at me. Let him feed his cheek. من خیلی دوست دارم جوجو کوچولو, I told her. میدونم, she said. میدونم. Then everyone sat down to eat. I wasn't hungry anymore though. I had to take care of my beloved. So I made sure to sit very close to Khanshu so I could feed her all through dinner.
Okay, no problem. So at the end of the episode now, you watched the episode. Did you like it? Did you like the episode there?
Yes, I like it.
That's all you're going to say? Anything else?
Which episode was it? Which episode? The one you made with Mom?
Yeah.
Because you have many episodes. This is about Juju Khoshkele.
Yeah.
I
Did you
think
like
if
it?
you put Juju Khoshkele, everybody's going to laugh so much.